What's going on, guys? So today we're going to take a look at the coolbaby RS6A. This is a portable Game Boy kind of knockoff thing that's got about 168 games in it. So let's take a look at what comes in the box, all the different accessories you get, and all the games that are included in this after a quick word from today's video sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by GVGmall.com. GVG Mall carries a wide variety of game currencies and gift cards that you could use to take your gaming to the next level. If you're looking for a fresh copy of Windows or Microsoft Office, then you can certainly find those on GVGmall.com as well. They are priced very competitively and offer legit copies of Microsoft software. You can pick up a copy of Windows 10 Pro for under 15 bucks. Visit gvgmall.com for more information and use code TSB to save during checkout. Welcome back, folks. So as I mentioned, we're going to take a look at the coolbaby RS6A. This is only $20, so just off the bat, so you guys get a sense of pricing, this is only 20 bucks, and you can pick this up from a number of websites. I do have a link in the description below where you can get it quickest and easiest way, aside from Amazon. Now, the specific one that I personally got here is the black model, and you can see that it looks pretty identical to one of those old school Game Boys. Now, this is pretty lightweight, it's not heavy at all, and you have a number of different connectivity ports and buttons, which we'll go over here in a second. So on the top of the device, you actually have a charging port, you have the power on-off switch, and of course you have an AV out port as well. Now, already you can see that this is not a standard 3.5mm jack, so you cannot use this with headphones. You can only use this with the included cable that they provided. And again, for $20, I'm not really going to nitpick on this too much, but I would have liked to see that they gave you a cable that can maybe, connect HDMI, because frankly, I don't know if I have a TV that will really use any of these cables anymore, except, if you just plug them into like the component out of your TV, which it could work by that way. So being able to capture footage with this is probably not going to be possible. So now that I've shown you this cable, I might as well tell you what comes in the box. So in the box, you get the actual device itself, you get a video AV out cable, and you get a small USB charge cable as well. So that's pretty much all that comes in the box. In addition, you do get a little manual that's very, very basic, nothing super fancy on this, but it just tells you the different operations you can do with the device, and of course, all the buttons, layouts. Now, looking at the front of the device, you have your standard D-pad on this side, and you've got your A/B buttons here. They put an XY button on top, which also double as turbo buttons, because the games on this are not Super Nintendo games, they are Nintendo classic games, which at that time we didn't have the X and Y button. So because there was a lack of those two buttons in the original Nintendo, these function as basically turbo buttons. And so when I say turbo buttons, what I mean is if you press and hold it, it's gonna pretend like it's doing this, just pressing it really fast. And of course, most people probably know what a turbo button is, but just in case you didn't, that's essentially what it does. So this is really handy if you're playing shooter games, where every time you want to shoot something, you actually have to press a button. You can just press and hold one of these top buttons, and it'll perform that same functionality as well. Overall, the build quality of this, it's pretty nice. Now, it is lightweight. This thing is not heavy at all. In the back, you have a battery port, and it comes with what looks like a standard Nokia lithium-ion battery. This shouldn't be hard to find if you ever do lose it. What I would have liked to see is if they'd done, a option to use this and possibly an option to use just two standard AA or AAA batteries like you would find in any old Game Boy. So that way, if you are out of battery, you can always swap them out. But nonetheless, this battery actually gives you about 6 hours of gameplay, which is pretty, awesome. I don't think you're going to be sitting and playing 6 hours straight, but there is a note to add to that. So one of the things about this device is that because it is operating on a Nintendo type platform or an emulator of that, there's really no save game option. So once you power off the device, when you power it back on, you're going to be starting the game from the beginning. And that was one of the cool things about retro games back in the day. When you wanted to play a game and beat it, you had to sit there and play it from beginning to end, because they didn't have memory cards or save states and stuff like that back then. So same thing applies to this device. Once you turn it off and turn it back on, you're not going to have a saved place to resume your game from. Of course, I'm sure there's probably ways that you can mod it so that you can do stuff like that, but as of now, I'm not familiar of any ways that you can do that. Now, in terms of game selection, you have 168 games. And honestly, some of the games are actually original NES classic games, and then you have some titles on here that look to be just copies of big name games. So we'll go through and I'll show you a couple things here real quick. You guys can see I've just booted up Super Mario Bros. 3. Now, one thing I like about this a lot actually is that the screen resolution is very, very nice. It's very crisp, very sharp. I'm not sure if you guys can see this here because the camera's trying to focus on my face, but if you take a look at that, it's actually very, very crisp and clear resolution. And it doesn't have any kind of like backlight bleeding on this side or that side or any side, frankly. So the build quality is very nice, what they made with it. I'm actually very, very impressed with this. And I think right off the bat, looking at the screen and the amount of games you get, battery life, just a few things I've covered so far makes this thing totally worth the price tag of 20 bucks. Now, of course, you know, we're in 2019, you might be thinking, well, what's so fun about playing retro games? But of course, like, you know, these are the type of games that I grew up with specifically, that maybe a bunch of you guys have grown up with as well. And it's good to see that, you know, there are options to play it instead of just busting out an NES Classic Edition or a Super Nintendo Classic, because essentially that's what these really are. They're just small classic editions. And yes, Soulja Boy did try and rebrand this and sell this as his own console and handheld, but this was it. This is what he was rebranding, essentially. There's a ton of different versions of this. Like I said, this is the Cool Baby, and this is made by Retro FC. You can also get this by BitBoy, which is also, you know, kind of the same thing, slight differences in screen and whatnot. But overall, very solid. Again, if you want to purchase this, I do have links in the description. One thing I did want to also show you guys is that the volume on this is actually pretty loud. Its volume is pretty decent. So, I mean, it's not going to be groundbreaking or anything like that, but it's more than enough if you're going to be playing by yourself and, you know, using it in some place where you need a little bit of volume. Now, like I said, because there's only a 2.5mm jack on top, you won't be able to connect headphones. So I think that's why they included a speaker inside that's loud enough for you to actually hear it. Now, where would you actually use something like this? I think this is great for when you're traveling or going on a camping trip, or, you know, you're just bored and you don't want to carry a bigger device like a Switch or a 2DS or a 3DS XL around, and this is really, really small, kind of just fits in the palm of your hand very, very simply. And you can put it in your back pocket, it's lightweight. Overall, I think this is very, very good value for what you're paying for it. Now let's talk about some of the games that are included. Now, I'm not going to go over the entire list of 168 games because there are way too many for me to list off here, and it's going to be boring. Of course, you can go and look on the link that I put in the description below where you can see the full game list. But a couple of notable ones that I want to share with you guys would be the Super Mario Bros. Series. They have Mario Bros. 1, they have 3, they have World, they have Dr. Mario. They have the whole series of the Donkey Kong games. They've got Dr. Mario, as I mentioned. There is Tetris in this too. You've got Aladdin, Mega Man, G.I. Joe, Mappy, Little Memo Dream, and probably a bunch more that you probably haven't even heard of. They're more obscure little titles, but that's what you'd expect with 168 in one. They don't have any Zelda games in here. There's a Plants vs. Zombie in here, which I'm sure was not out on Nintendo at the time. And there's even Angry Birds in this. So hence, you get a list of all these different crazy games that are in here that probably did not even exist around Nintendo's era. Nonetheless, they're still really, really fun to play. Even though it's only 8-bit graphics, they're, you know, pretty cool to look at in today's day. So not something that's going to be comparing to like an Xbox or something like that, but definitely has its own value, and it does bring you back that nostalgic feeling of when you used to play Nintendo games. So similar to what the NES Classic delivered, it's doing the same thing here. So again, if you guys are interested in picking this up, I have a link in the description. You can head over to the website and grab one. It's only about $20 to $21. And I believe it is free shipping as well, so make sure you do get a chance to get one if you need this. It makes a perfect gift for a gamer boyfriend or a girlfriend, or even a kid that's nagging you for like a new 2DS or something. I don't know. This is great for that. It's affordable, and you don't have to worry about it breaking or something like that. So that pretty much concludes this review, guys. Let me know what you think of this device in the comments below. As always, I will be there joining you guys and engaging with you in like I do in all my videos. So until then, I will see you guys on my next video. Take care and have a good one.